Greetings and welcome again. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Shaolin Wooden Men. But first, let's have a look at the release and then my comments on that movie in particular. So, as you can see, this time we've got an A3 format poster with the original art from Kung Fu Bob O'Brien again. And as you can see, it shows Jackie in a fighting pose. And on top of his character is the main bad guy, who is a crazy monk, so to speak, chained into a cave. And here in the bottom, we see two of the so-called mentors or teachers or masters, whichever you want to choose, of Jackie's. They taught him actually various kung fu styles in order to overcome the obstacles in the Shaolin monastery or temple. So that's the drunken monk and that's a nun, and they spring out of nowhere in the movie, but they're playing the important part in Jackie's training. And at the background we see the famous Shaolin Wooden Men, which actually are depicted into the title as well. And if you see, there is a resemblance. There was a character in the Tekken games, extra character, who's called Mokujin, and he was able to imitate all the various styles of different characters from the game. And that's probably the prototype for Mokujin. These wooden dummies, so-called. Not wooden men, actually. And onto the release itself. It has the same sleeve, the same artwork. And it comes again with a new 2K remaster of the Hong Kong cut of the original 35mm negatives. And we've got a set of double-sided art cards as well, and A3 fold-out poster, which is already here. Not too many extras, but enough, I think, for that kind of release. We have 2 audio commentary tracks, and then 2 featurettes, one by Rick Baker, a film critic, on that movie Shaolin Wooden Men, and another one, a featurette about how Transglobal Pictures brought Jackie Chan to Britain. And it's about an old company which distributed all these low-way motion pictures into UK via VHS. That was way back then. And we got as well a few trailers, and then a reversible sleeve with an alternate Hong Kong poster artwork. I'm going to see it just now. So here it is. As you can see, very nice disc as well, part of it here. And that's the alternative poster artwork. It's not as exquisite as the one from Kung Fu Bob O'Brien, but still nice touch. And I'll show you the lobby cards as well, or art cards. So that's one of the training scenes from the movie. On the back, beautiful illustration from Kung Fu Bob O'Brien again. This is the infamous Wooden Men alley, so to speak, and that chamber where Jackie fights him. And here we got another training, like a part of the training sequence, with Jackie with a big boulder on his back. It's again nicely done. Here, the main bad guy actually teaches Jackie his secret kung fu style. And then that's the entrance of the chamber, the Wooden Men chamber. And then that's actually the exit of the chamber, where that was the tradition back then. So if you want to leave the Shaolin temple, you have to fight throughout that chamber, and then you have to remove that cauldron, which was searing hot. And while you remove it from the exit, you can just go and leave the Shaolin temple. That was the tradition back then. And here it's got the thanks from the producers and people very important for that movie. There we go. And it's an absolute astonishing release, I would say. And 88 films outdone themselves. So now I'm going to share my thoughts about that particular movie, so see you in a wee while. Shaolin Wooden Men. The plot is really simple. Jackie's character enters the Shaolin Temple in order to learn Kung Fu and avenge his father, who has been killed by a mysterious assassin. And during his training there, he encounters a few teachers, or Sifu, as they used to call them in the old movies, of course, and the infamous wooden men, or wooden dummies. And then the final showdown as well is present. So that's very simple premise which follows the familiar tropes and the formula from many other movies. Again, the Avenged team is there, but this time there is a bit of difference. Jackie's been given an additional credit as a martial arts choreographer, and he's in parts responsible for many of the martial arts scenes. And you can tell his not yet his signature moves or his passion towards expressing himself with the various combat techniques or something, but it's still there. Like he was being under the wing of a younger director this time, and although Lo Wei was supervising the overall production, he wasn't there present all the time. So that gave the Jackie Chan a chance to collaborate with the new director and infuse some of his ideas, which is obviously seen on the screen sometimes. And he even mentioned it in his autobiography, Never Grow Old, that whenever Lo Wei was taking a nap or he was missing from the set, he will be going together with the director of the picture, and they will be starting to change a few things here and there and give more creative freedom, so to speak. So this movie is no different than any other during that same period, but this time Jackie plays a character who is have a disability or accessibility. In this case, he's a mute character, and everybody calls him Mute Boy or Brother Mute. It depends who's addressing him. And he's not speaking throughout most of the movie. His first words were about an hour and 38 minutes into the movie. So basically just before the final duel in the movie. And before that, he has to express all his emotions and feelings throughout gestures and crying or nodding quite a lot of his head, just portraying a non-verbal character. Why was that? I don't know. I mean, the screenplay was made by Lo Wei, so he decided to put obviously Jackie in a different environment this time, as a character-wise, and Jackie followed it. But the martial arts scenes compensate for the lack of dialogue on his side. And there is everything which you might encounter in the old martial arts movies. The training montages, the training scenes, the familiar masters or Sifu there who are teaching Jackie's character different martial arts, just because they see in him that he got that spark that needs to be nurtured so he can subsequently learn a martial arts and then leave the Shaolin Temple to find and avenge his father, to find his father's killer and avenge his father's death. And in order to do that, he has to go through the notoriously difficult to handle Wooden Men alley. And so wooden dummies, which are like automatons. Basically, some of the dummies were just repeating one movement. The other one were doing mainly with their hands, and the rest of it were with their legs. So we just have to memorize the pattern and then go through it. And for a title which holds Shaolin Wooden Men, the encounter is quite brief on screen. So they're not the main MacGuffin there, the main like point of interest. So then Jackie utilizes, after he's like, leaving the Shaolin Temple, he utilizes many other aspects of the martial arts trainings, like hand-to-hand combat or with weapons combat. So there is a variety as well there. And it's quite well shot as well, very clearly, with no quick cuts, just like, longer cuts as well, longer takes, slow-mo when necessary, but very, very limited. And this, it's not the best there is, but it's a very decent movie. And like, there is a few twists and turns alongside the movie, but I don't want to spoil it. So there are encounters during the course of the movie. He encounters a few characters which they're not be given a very detailed explanation or description why they're here, what's their motivation, but they're just there. In a few flashback scenes, we get to know why actually these people were in the movie, and what they were like, plot device, what they were meaningful for it. So just, it follows a very simple path, but it doesn't stray too much of it, except for one really big twist. But all the training scenes, all the training montage as well, it's worth seeing, because it shows Jackie's prowess, it shows Jackie's physical ability, and it shows his qualities as a martial artist as well, because he's primarily in many of the bouts there. And so you can see he's really like trying to put an emphasis on his skills and trying to put something different on screen. And just for the sheer effort, it's commendable. It's commendable because he was given a chance to be like having a certain amount of creative control. And that's talking about the martial arts scenes in particular, not the plot, obviously. But in the few of the movies afterwards, he was given that creative freedom as well, to create the characters, to direct, and to oversee the martial arts scenes as well. And that's how his versatility was built up in later on, when he was very much professional in these areas, in all the areas, because he was going in all the aspects of the movie making business. So Shaolin Wooden Men is not too different or too dissimilar from the rest of the crop from that particular year, 1976. But it's kind of like, has a refreshing quality to it. Inside the Shaolin Temple, Jackie's character encounters a lot of difficulties and hardships, but he's determined to see that through, and to become from an apprentice to become proficient in martial arts. And Shaolin Temple was renowned for it. Even more so basically during the Qing dynasty, the Manchurians, when they came over, and they decided to ban all the martial arts and everything connected with it. The Shaolin Temple became that flagship, that banner of hope for the people, that they can be like taught like a martial arts, and they can be proficient in Kung Fu. But most of all, Shaolin Temple was a spiritual sanctum. So that's not shown here in particular in this movie, but it's been shown in another movie with Jackie Chan called Spiritual Kung Fu, who come in a later stage, but again under low-way production. But here, basically, Jackie just starting to get his foot in, starting to become more proficient, more confident in what he does. And it's just amazing to see his character, despite being deprived from verbal communication with the other characters, he's still trying to convey messages through his gestures and postures and poses and everything. So it's not too far from the truth to say that he's testing his dramatic skills as well as an actor, not only as a martial artist. which again, you see, these are the seeds which were going to be sown for he can reap the rewards later in his career, when he could become a very versatile performer. For example, in Heart of the Dragon, or Crime Story, or Shinjuku Incident, when he's showing his more dramatic side of his character, which are much more deeply embedded into the story. And in other movies like Project A, or Dragons Forever, or Police Story, where he's showing his martial arts prowess. And that's what it is. The Lowway production company gave him the chance to start finding himself, what exactly what he wants to do, and how he wants to craft his persona, both in front and behind the camera. And Shaolin Wooden Men, as I said, is a pretty decent movie. It has a lot of fights. It has a very striking villain. Like, really, it can be embedded into your mind after you've watched the movie, because it was portrayed very, very brutal, in a kind of brutal way. And Jackie was starting from a naive person to a very confident one. So there is a transition there as well, of character-wise. And although it's a very simplified one, it doesn't rob the movie of anything. It doesn't like overshadows the movie, but everything is kind of like well balanced, which is nice, because if some of the aspects, for example, if you've been overblown or overburdened by martial arts scenes, but there is no plot connected to it, it's kind of like is not very strong, and it kind of looks detached and off-putting at some point, because you're just seeing martial arts clips without any like coherent connection in between. So when a movie is well balanced, like Shaolin Wooden Men, despite the low budget, despite the limitations, despite the lack of like professional like equipment probably at that age, it's a pretty standard movie, but it's not a bad movie. So when I saw it first time ever, by that time I was already being treated to the best of Jackie's filmography, such as Project A, Police Story, etc. And then I thought that this is a very weak one. Again, it's subverted my expectations, because I saw it like recently, a few days ago, and it has its own merits compared to his recent starring vehicles, where he's just tired and bland and probably not given enough for it, I would say. I don't know. It depends really how you want to look at it. But in Shaolin Wooden Man, it was his like one of the few early movies in his career. He wanted to prove himself. He wanted to start to be taken as a serious martial artist and an actor as well. But that will take like decades until he actually finds that acceptance and finds that he's really a capable martial artist and an actor. But it will take a longer period. But this, again, with New Fist of Fury and other movies under the Lowway production company, it again shows his potential. And he's not shy to go and create something different in the martial arts scenes, something really like nice and well crafted. And on top of that, you've got a few like characters who are very memorable as well, especially the main villain, of course. And it's makes for a very good viewing, and it's not a bad movie. Again, like I would say, despite everything, Jackie shines in this as well. And not much can be said about most of the Lowway movies he made, because they all follow the same plot, but they still have something different shown in there. There are a few glimpses, there are a few like parts of it which I found to be like really interesting and really well made. Again, said despite the limitations of that period. And so Jackie is trying really hard to be someone recognizable in the industry, not probably in the same vein as it was with Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee was totally different character on and off screen. So he was a very serious one, he was a very demanding one, but he was demanding for a quality, and that was like separate his movies from, let's say, Jimmy Wang Yu's movies, which are very like clumsily made, despite some classics there like One Arm Swordsman series where he's a main protagonist. But Bruce Lee was something which people really admired about his qualities, his like his potential as well, his prospects of becoming like a really, really big star in the martial arts industry. And Jackie was trying to do himself. He was trying to do him, like as a person. He was trying to find his footing. He was trying to find what he needs to succeed. And Shaolin Wooden Men is one of the many examples that he has a potential, and he's a very capable martial artist and an actor to that extent. And on top of that, the martial arts scenes are very well done, quite lengthy, and it's shown his potential really. So give it a chance, and I'll see you next time when I'll be discussing one of the few wuxia roles of Jackie, and this is one of them. It's called To Kill with Intrigue. So see you next time. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.